Welcome back to day 10 of our Express.js course explainer. So if you've been following along with us, you already know we've spent the last few sessions really mastering routing and middleware. But today we're graduating. We are moving up to persistent data storage and real production scale architectures. We're literally taking our backend out of that ephemeral memory space and finally connecting it to a real database. We're going to cover exactly how to wire it all up, how to query it, and, maybe most importantly, how to keep your app from completely crashing when thousands of users hit it at the exact same time. Let's take a quick look at the agenda for today. First, we'll set up your first database connection. Then, we'll dive into executing raw SQL queries, followed by a look at the dreaded connection exhaustion trap. After that, we'll explore proxy pooling with PgBouncer, and finally, we'll wrap up by transitioning to modern ORMs.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, your first database connection. Following the deployment guide methodology, there are 3 exact mechanical steps to wire this up securely. Step 1. You just install the PgPromise package. Pretty straightforward. But the real magic actually happens in Step 2. Listen, instead of hard-coding your credentials, which, let's be honest, is a massive security risk, you're going to set a database URL environment variable. Doing this lets your Express app dynamically pull the correct config, whether you're just running it locally on your machine or you've deployed it out to the cloud. Once that's done, you simply configure the dynamic connection, and you're good to go.
Moving right along to Section 2, executing raw SQL queries.
Okay, so say you want to fetch the current time. You'd use PgPromise to fire off the raw string select now directly to Postgres. If it works perfectly, awesome. You get the time back and you render your page. But you've really got to pay attention to the error handling here. If that query fails for any reason, your Express code absolutely must catch it, log it, and return a 500 status response. You're only ever rendering after a successful response. It's very manual, it's exact, but hey, it gives you total, uncompromised control.
Which brings us to Section 3, and this is a big one, the connection exhaustion trap.
So you've got the basics working locally, right? And it feels great. Everything is snappy. But as your deployment scales up to handle potentially 15 to 20,000 requests per second, which, by the way, a basic Express app is fully capable of handling on modern hardware, we really have to stop and ask what actually happens to your database when your Express app scales horizontally. Remember, Node.js is single-threaded, so every single time it spins up a new instance to handle a massive traffic spike, that brand new instance is opening fresh connections directly to your database.
And that is exactly where we meet the villain of today's explainer, connection exhaustion. I want you to think of your database like a super busy restaurant, okay? And your connections, those are the tables. If every single new Express app instance demands its own permanent table just in case a customer might show up, well, you're going to run out of tables almost instantly. The entire restaurant just grinds to a halt. So your horizontal scaling, the very thing that was supposed to save your app under load, literally ends up suffocating your database instead.
The architectural patterns over at Render explicitly warn us about this. Skipping proper connection management directly leads to some truly catastrophic, cascading failures under load. Because your Node.js event loops get blocked just sitting there waiting for the database, you're going to start seeing HTTP timeouts. Active requests will just crash mid-flight, which, yikes, can actually corrupt your data. And honestly, the worst part, if you happen to have poorly configured health checks, like maybe checking the database health in a basic liveness probe, the platform itself might just restart your app during a tiny network blip. You end up turning a momentary little hiccup into a full-blown multi-minute outage. Nobody wants that.
Thankfully, there is a solution. Let's look at Section 4, proxy pooling with PgBouncer.
To fix this whole mess, we need to shift away from standard default pools and move to an optimized PgBouncer setup. So, instead of your Express app talking directly to Postgres, it talks to PgBouncer. Going back to our restaurant analogy, PgBouncer acts exactly like a skilled maitre d'. It efficiently manages a small, very sustainable pool of connections and carefully queues up incoming requests. This totally prevents your services from overwhelming the database during massive traffic spikes. It ensures you get resilient, low-latency performance at scale, literally no matter how many horizontal instances of Express you decide to spin up. It's a total game changer.
All right, moving into our final part today, Section 5, transitioning to modern ORMs.
Okay, so now that our infrastructure is completely secure, it's optimized, and it's totally ready to scale, let's look ahead a bit. We're finally moving away from writing raw strings and getting into the ecosystem level. We're looking at the big debate. Do you want the exact control of a code-first tool like Drizzle? Or are you looking for maximum developer abstraction with a schema-first tool like Prisma?
See, Prisma gives you this really nice custom schema language and automated migrations. It basically figures out all the complex SQL for you. Drizzle, on the other hand, maps directly to SQL syntax. That gives you 100% full visibility into the exact queries running against your database. So at the end of the day, it's really a trade-off between pure developer comfort and absolute mechanical control.
Now, if you're thinking about serverless scaling, there is one crucial number you need to pay attention to: 12.2 kilobytes. That is Drizzle's exceptionally tiny, near-instant bundle size. If you're deploying out to serverless environments like Vercel Edge or AWS Lambda, you know cold start times are absolutely critical. Prisma is incredibly feature-rich for sure, but it has a much heavier footprint, sitting around 1.6 megabytes, because it actually ships a whole engine binary. Drizzle's microscopic size, however, translates directly to lightning-fast cold starts, very often clocking in at well under 500 milliseconds.
There's a popular saying out there: if you know SQL, you know Drizzle. And honestly, that bridges the gap perfectly from what we learned today about raw SQL. Drizzle's core philosophy is that the query builder should map directly to SQL constructs. So if you just spent today learning exactly how to write raw select statements, picking up Drizzle tomorrow is going to feel entirely natural to you. You're writing your queries in TypeScript, yeah, but they read exactly like SQL. It's the best of both worlds.
So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a fundamental choice to ponder before we fully dive into the world of object relational mapping next time. Ask yourself, do you want the rich tooling and the automated migrations of Prisma, which, by the way, is absolutely perfect for teams that just want to move incredibly fast without stressing over database internals? Or do you want the raw edge-native speed and the precise SQL control that Drizzle offers? You really need to think about your team, your specific deployment strategy, and honestly, your own personal comfort level with SQL. It's a big decision. We are going to unpack all of this and a whole lot more on day 11. See you then.